Today's episode is brought to you by Kinda Funny on Spotify. Did you know that our shows are in video on Spotify? Now you do. Please go follow all of our shows, Kinda Funny Podcast, In Review, Games Daily, and Gamescast. It'll really help us out, and it's free. What's up and welcome back to the Kinda Funny Gamescast for Thursday, November 6th, 2025. Of course, I'm your host, Tim Geddes. I'm joined today by Blessing Adeoye Jr.
Good day, Tim.
And Barrett Courtney.
What up?
Making a rare appearance here on the
We
desk.
got to stop saying the rare appearance. I've been on Gamescast, I think, more this year than any other year.
Still rare.
He's a regular.
You know,
Yeah.
daily show.
That's
you show up
true.
once a month.
Yeah.
You know, always good.
I know.
Always a pleasure.
Yeah.
I'm excited specifically today because we're talking about one of our
I've
shared
heard
favorite
rare
things.
so many times.
You're a rare
But
boy.
it should make you feel special every single time.
It doesn't.
We gotta find a
Dang.
new special word then.
We got, yeah. What's our special word for special Barrett? Let us know. Super chat in some suggestions.
Be
But
illustrious.
Be nice. Only be nice. Illustrious.
Illustrious.
Or be
yeah.
mean. Maybe
Yeah.
I'm into that.
I don't even know what illustrious means. I've heard that word so many times. I'm looking it up.
Like actually, what is the definition of
Yeah.
illustrious?
What is it could mean
Because
anything.
I get the context of it, but yeah, I'm with you. I don't know exactly what it means.
Well known, respected, and admired for past achievements.
Oh, I'm not.
I'd say that about you.
He's
I'm
pretty
one of
illustrious.
those things. I would say kind of the first one.
You're more illustrious than a lot of people.
That is true. Well, everybody, this is the Gamescast. Each and every weekday, we get together to talk about the biggest reviews, previews, and topics in video games live on YouTube, Twitch, and podcast services around that darn globe. If you love what we do, please support us with the Kinda Funny membership on Patreon, YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcast to get all of our shows ad-free and a daily exclusive Greg Way. For a chance to be part of this show, YouTube Super Chat, your thoughts, opinions, questions, whatever you got in. Today's big topic is Zelda, specifically the Breath of the Wild universe. So if you have any thoughts, please Super Chat them in and we'll get to them throughout the show. A little housekeeping for you. We're an 11-person business all about live talk shows. Today, Games Daily covered the PlayStation cross-buy PC leaked rumors situation. Greg and Bless broke it all down. You're going to want to check that out. After this Gamescast, you're going to get our Predator Badlands in review. Should they have called it Predator Goodlands? You're going to have to watch and find out. Then the stream after that is going to be
Whack.
Bless playing Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment, which is going to be a lot of fun, hopefully.
Hopefully.
We'll see.
We'll
Just
see.
thinking about how that could have been unbeatable today. You know,
I know, God, it's so messed up.
It still stings. I was like explaining to Alyssa yesterday, like everything leading into it, and then it actually happening is just like, it's
Yeah,
tough.
like imagine thinking you're gonna get ice cream tomorrow, and then somebody comes to you and you're like, "You're not gonna get ice cream for a month,
For a month.
and a week,
A month and a week.
a month and a
No.
week." Yeah,
Oh, man. If you're a Kinda Funny member, today's Greg Way is 19 minutes about how cool and talented Alana Pierce is. And I'm going to just say it. That's not a long enough time to cover all the reasons.
Yeah,
Facts.
it's true.
Yeah. She's insane. Doesn't sleep. Too much work. Too much quality.
yeah, I agree.
Thank you to our Patreon producers, Carl Jacobs, Omega Buster, and Delaney the Psalm Twining. Let's get to it. The topic of the show.
What if we do legendary? Like, you know how they have rarities for items in video games? If you're not rare, we can call you legendary.
Just normalize me is all I'm saying.
Uncommon.
No, that's
you
the
are
opposite.
uncommon.
Yeah,
But I like rare better.
normalize Barrett.
You know what? I actually like uncommon. Because if you don't like rare,
If you don't like rare,
the uncommon.
uncommon actually does make sense then.
That is an accurate representation of how many times you're on the show. It's uncommon.
I'll take it.
Oh, God, what are we doing here? We're talking about Zelda Age of Imprisonment. It is the latest in the Hyrule Warriors series. We got a code, and Barrett is the one that played it to some extent.
Yes.
How much have you played? Did you beat this game? Do you have intentions to beat this game? And what are your overall thoughts?
Yeah, I have only put about 8 hours into Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment. And this is an interesting one because I'm coming at this not even from like a Zelda fan perspective, or obviously not a Muso fan perspective, but more so of like someone who's experienced Muso crossover games before, particularly with Persona 5 Strikers being the one Muso crossover game that I've actually completed. And I was going into this kind of apprehensive because the one like Dynasty Warriors game I remember playing back at like IGN for a few hours, I remember it feeling at the time like easy, stylish action, not for me, but cool for the people who have it, right? And then Persona 5 Strikers, when that came out, I remember that feeling almost like an overcorrection to people who are like, oh, it's simple, fun gameplay because you're putting the Muso style gameplay into a lot of like systems and strategies of the Persona stuff. That was really impressive to see those two different styles of game like married in combat. But as I said in my Persona ranked video, I sucked at Persona 5 Strikers. Like I could just not wrap my head around it. And so I was a little apprehensive going into this one because I was like, man, even though way back in the day I thought of the general layman's Muso as like kind of easy and simple, maybe they're a bit deeper and more complicated than I give it credit for, and maybe this, I don't know like what my time is going to be with this type of game, especially this being another crossover title. And my first Hyrule Warriors game, I've never actually played like what was the last one? Age of Calamity? Yeah, I didn't play that one because I heard it ran like booty on the Switch one. And then there was, of course, the original Hyrule Warriors game, which was a Wii U game?
Yep.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And so I came in...
And then a 3DS game. A new 3DS game.
That's crazy.
One of the like 4 new 3DS games.
Damn. Wow. So I was apprehensive going into this, and although my first couple of hours, I was kind of brought back to, oh yeah, this is simple, fun action. I don't know if I have a lot going, keeping my momentum going and continuing this game. Now 8 hours in, I am actually starting to feel the fun of what this type of game and this type of series offers. I would still say that like in terms of like story and world, I don't know if I like have a lot of motivation to continue on, but now that I've really started to unlock a lot of the deeper systems in terms of unlocking like move sets, more characters, and then like really fun combo attacks between characters, there is something satisfying about going into a field as Rauru, my dude, and fighting 100 bokoblins at once. And he's got this dope move where he shoots out beams of light out of his hands and then brings them together. So like, if you have a wide field of bokoblins, you bring them all to the center while damaging them. There is something really satisfying and cool to that. And so like the more I've put time into this game, the more I find myself enjoying it. Surprisingly more from the gameplay side and less from the story and lore side of Zelda, which I wouldn't have guessed going into this.
Yeah, wow, that is very, very interesting. I'm excited to dive deeper into that. Just bringing in some other thoughts and reviews on this. Currently, it's Metacritic is at 79, which seems to put it on the higher end slightly of the Hyrule Warriors games, but that is pretty damn impressive for this type of game. And I wanted to bring in Logan Plant's review from IGN. We were going to have him on the show, but scheduling stuff didn't work out for that. But I want to just read his verdict here, right? Because a lot of people put out the reviews on embargo a couple days ago, but on launch day, which is today, I guess?
Yes.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's why we're doing it now. Yep. You can play it today. Logan and IGN held their review because the Nintendo embargo was pretty strict about what they can and can't talk about.
Right.
And a lot of his more critical thoughts were about some of the story elements that he couldn't talk about without spoilers or anything. But I want to read the verdict here. The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom left a lot of unanswered questions, perfect for exploring in a prequel. But Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment isn't all that interested in answering them. What it is interested in is weaving together iconic mechanics from its source material to deliver the best Muso action the series has seen yet. It constantly rewards your knowledge of Tears of the Kingdom through clever, often hilarious movesets that recontextualize abilities to fit its over-the-top action, as well as smaller payoffs like boss weaknesses that are consistent across the pair of games. Carving through thousands of enemies remains fun throughout the roughly 18-hour campaign and beyond, thanks to constant upgrades, smart systems that encourage you to use a variety of characters, and great technical performance. It's just a shame that Age of Imprisonment fails to tell a story worthy of its potential, choosing to deviate from deepening our understanding of Tears of the Kingdom's lore in favor of focusing on new characters who are completely unrelated. That direction isn't inherently bad, but if you are hoping for a prequel that meaningfully pulls on lingering threads like the Zonai, Ganondorf, the Secret Stones, or the Sages, you won't find it here. But when the prequel we have to settle for in its place is a seriously fun action game with tons of optional content to keep you going, it's still a trip into the past that's well worth taking. And he gave it an 8 out of 10. Great on the IGN.
And that was my fear with the story stuff. Again, I'm seemingly about almost halfway through the story, and Yeah, it feels very not interested in answering a lot of like questions from this world that we still have even after Tears of the Kingdom. And you know, from trailers there were characters teased that were like, oh, are they going to finally start talking about this stuff? And it's like, now, even only being 8 hours in, I'm like, I don't think they're going to answer. Like, I don't think this is going to be the answer to like cool lingering questions we have about this iteration of Hyrule and Zelda, which I find really disappointing so far, especially because, you know, again, the only other game that I have connection with in this style of genre or whatever is Persona 5 Strikers, where that game also does a big focus on a couple of new characters that like join the Phantom Thieves, but that game is such a smart sequel as well to Persona 5 because it acts as a follow-up to all of the main characters' arcs throughout like the Persona 5 and has them really kind of like grapple with what they went through in the original game. And that's like, in terms of that, like that was such a strong like way to like keep people motivated, even if it is partially a genre that they're not really used to or aren't really as into. Whereas I think this like the story side of the Zelda stuff is really like let me down and failed in that regards, and it's just like not super interesting, which I find to be a letdown.
So then jumping to the gameplay side that you seem surprisingly high on, do you think that they did a good job of mirroring the Zelda Breath of the Wild Tears of the Kingdom kind of gameplay elements and style with the Musou?
Yeah, and this was something that I was honestly not too surprised by, especially with like how deep they got into the you know, Persona 5 what's it, the where your
the social
demons.
links?
No, the like your demons and what do you call them? Your personas.
Yeah.
I'm tired.
Pokemon.
And so like integrating that entire system and like how deep they got into that, like I wasn't going into this being like, oh, there's probably going to be barely any Zelda mechanics in here. Like what I've seen so far, I'm like, yeah, this makes sense for this pedigree of like the studio and what they've done before, right? You know, like you do have like your perfect dodge where, you know, if you dodge an enemy at the perfect time, it slows down and then you can wail on them and stuff like that. And I think for what this universe is, and especially like the this part of the story that this game is telling, which is the, you know, the imprisonment war and all this stuff where, you know, we saw in flashbacks of like how big Ganon's army was at the time. And it's like this kind of style of combat makes sense for just like the waves of enemies that you're going through and just like how zany and weird it gets as well. But yeah, I think it's really impressive. Like I've also just started getting deeper into something I was really surprised by was like the item stuff, especially like Zonai devices, like how they're integrating that into combat where, you know, you can put them into slots replacing your special moves for your characters. And then, you know, you can bring out like the flamethrower thing to take down an enemy that might be made of ice or something like that. Or you can bring out a fan that will redirect arrows like being shot at you and then it'll like blow them all back to the enemies and stuff like that. And that part of the gameplay was something I wasn't really expecting. I was expecting more of like what we know from Link's moveset from both Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. But yeah, the item stuff it seems to be getting deep in the Duffy. And shout out to the one quality of life update that they gave, you know, that holding down right D-pad to bring up a menu is there, but you don't have to hold it down anymore. You just press it, and then it's just a menu that pops up. It's like, this would have been nice in Tears of the Kingdom.
Oh, man.
In terms of looks and sounds and performance, what are your thoughts?
Music is great. It hasn't like really stood out to me too much in terms of like Tears of the Kingdom's like a score and all that. I would say performance, again, that was like a big talking point for Age of Calamity, was people being like, hey, this game's rad, but it runs like booty. Yeah. This runs really well. Nice. And that's, you know, with the power of the Switch 2, this type of game can finally run on a Nintendo piece of hardware, which, you know, kind of bare minimum, I would say. But yeah, it runs really smooth. I've only noticed a couple of frame drops in terms of like having a lot of enemies on screen and that specific Raru move I was mentioning earlier. Mm-hmm. There's a lot going on screen, but it's not like, you know, like the final boss of Donkey Kong Bonanza where you could really tell like, oh man, this thing's chugging. Like it's a couple of frames here or there, and besides that, it's like buttery smooth. My biggest criticism in terms of like performance and quality stuff like that is, and this is, I think, looking back at criticism of like all of the Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, I would really love if they had done cutscenes actually in engine and not pre-rendered stuff, because like, especially now with the Switch 2 improvements in like with the fidelity of this game and then also Tears of the Kingdom, it's really weird to go then to what is obviously like a 1080p low bit rate like video file for a cutscene, and it's just like so weird to then go back into engine for combat, and you're just like, man, this would have looked so much better if they just done this in engine. That's like my only biggest like kind of criticism with that. So.
Nice.
Bless, I know we've talked about this a couple times in the shows, but you walked by seeing Barrett play it out there. Mm-hmm. What were your thoughts about it?
I mean, I legitimately was just like, wow, this game looks gorgeous.
Yeah.
That was the first thing that jumped out at me. And granted, it was during an opening cutscene where I think it was just you as Zelda walking with like NPCs in like a foresty area. And looking at it, it was the thing where I was like, I don't remember even Tears looking this good. And that might be the power of the Switch too.
And I think it's also like Tears looks that good, but also now on Switch 2.
Yeah.
But it's also, I think, something subtle just because it's the Muso thing. Like you are much closer, I feel like, to your character, and like the camera perspective is different than Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild. Whereas like when you go to like a Zonai shrine, it actually took me a moment to realize like, oh yeah, these things are actually kind of big compared to like the size of a person.
Yeah.
Where you don't really feel that in like the more like kind of pulled back Tears of the Kingdom perspective. So I think that also gives it a little bit more of like, you actually get to take in like, oh yeah, this world is actually really beautiful now that like on the Switch 2, but also in almost like a more like human eye level perspective,
That makes more sense. And yeah, this is one of those things where, well, watching you play that opening segment, I was fooled a little bit because I was like, oh, do I want to play this? And I had to like stop myself and be like, no, I always have this when it comes to Hyrule Warriors games where I see the game and I see the Zelda that I know and love. And then I like watch the gameplay or I play a Muso game and I'm like, oh yeah, no, this is a different thing. And so seeing the scores kind of brought me back down to earth of being like, okay, no, this is a Muso thing. I don't know if it's going to be my jam, but watching you play that opening part has me kind of excited to check out the first hour of it to see like, all right, is this actually going to hit for me this time around? For you being 8 hours in, like, do you plan to continue? Are you going to beat this game?
We were kind of talking about this yesterday in terms of like it actually being kind of nice that Unbeatable was delayed, where it's like there are so many games right now. Like I have not beaten Pokemon Za. I am in love with Absolume, and I have not beaten that yet. We've got Dispatch, which is a weekly thing, and that'll end next week. But that, and then like Luminous Arise comes out next week. We got SpongeBob SquarePants in like 2 weeks, I think, from now. And so it's one of those, hearing 18 hours is really nice because I did go to, it's early on, but how long to beat for this game yesterday. Because I assumed like, oh, there must be a couple people who reviewed it who like put their hour count on it. And people were saying like 35 hours. I was like, oh, I don't know if I want to do 35 hours of this game. Hearing Logan say 18, knowing that I'm almost at the halfway point, I'm like, okay, maybe I could rock with this, for another 9-10 hours, something like that. We'll see, because Tim was trying to convince me to finish Pokemon Za yesterday. We'll see where I land on that. I think it really depends on like what my mood is this weekend. But I'm not right now. I'm not opposed to it, which again I find very surprising, because my guess for you playing the first hour in the stream in a couple of hours, you're gonna be like, yeah, I'm good. And that's how I felt in like the first hour and a half to 2 hours, where I was like, man, I really am not finding anything like really pulling me. And I knew I wasn't going to beat it, but I still wanted to give as much time as possible. It's just been a busy week and a half to talk about this, and it is surprising that I'm actually into it. So.
Nice.
With the blend of a lot of the Zelda kind of gameplay elements into this style, is there any weapon degradation, which is like such a core thing to Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom?
No weapon degradation. There's actually weapon upgrading, Tim.
Whoa.
Yeah, like one of the rewards you get is like steel, and then you can go to like a camp and then upgrade people specific weapons. You can also like mix and match certain weapons depending on your characters. Like Zelda, I think, only uses like one-handed swords. There's a mysterious character that you play as that uses, I think it's like a two-handed sword. And then you got like Raru, who uses a spear and all that stuff. So as long as you have your weapon types, you can switch weapons and upgrade them. So if you're into this world and you hate weapon degradation, you don't have to worry about that, which is nice. Something else interesting that I'm not used to, and I'm sure this is probably like duh Barrett for people who've played these games before. I think the in between missions is very interesting. Of like you have like your Hyrule map. And right now I'm at a section where like, oh, it's been taken over by the bad guys. And now you're like slowly unlocking the map. And a lot of like in between is like, oh, someone needs help over here. Do you have this list of materials? Okay, give that to them. Now you've unlocked like this part of the map. Or now you've unlocked like a deeper move set for one of your characters or something like that. Which I guess I'm not used to because, again, Strikers like really lean more into the Persona loop than I would say the Muso loop. So that stuff is actually, honestly, the deeper I get into it, also a bit more fun of like looking at like, okay, like who can I help out right now, and like what little things can I unlock to help my missions, right? It took me a little too long to figure out how to upgrade weapons, which I think some of the tutorial onboarding stuff gets fallen to the wayside. Not that that's like, you know, they're hiding something and it's now the game's like so hard, or it was much harder than it was before, but there's like little things like that where I'm like, I wish y'all would have actually pointed me to this, because you have the little the constructs, the guys who with the little arms who like help you out on that first island.
Yep.
You know, you've got a little like logo of him pointing you to like all of these things, but when it comes to stuff like that, he doesn't. It's like, come on, man. So weird little things like that, and then also just lore. I got to a thing yesterday where I'm like, what are we doing?
Dang.
What's happening?
Dang.
What? How? I thought this was the origin of all the Sky Islands, but now you're telling me that there's Sky Islands up there already. Oh, all right. Okay. All right. That's weird.
Any final thoughts for now on Age of Imprisonment?
I think it's a solid entry. I'm having a fun time with the action. I think 8 hours in, only halfway through, Nintendo seems really disinterested in leaning into their audience's interest when it comes to their questions of Zelda lore and the world. Disregard even the timeline of just like what this world, what this particular Zelda world is introducing in terms of its story and lore and all this stuff. And the more they do things in this world, the less interested I become in it, which bums me out. So it's a weird game to be playing, because it's like, oh yeah, I'm into the gameplay, I'm into the mechanics, and I'm into even gaining more characters which have different movesets, which is very confusing to me, but you know, I'm wrapping my brain around it. And then also being like, man, I really wish this was honestly not a story game. Like, I wish this was just pure you know, mechanics, or just like lean into it being an Elseworlds thing, because I've seen people joke on the internet, it's canonical. It's canonical. Them leaning actually into like, this is actually everything that happened on Zelda's side of Tears of the Kingdom, because I know that was a big sticking point for people for Age of Calamity, where like at the end of that game, it's like, none of it actually happened or something like that. So
weird.
It's a weird, some sweet taste, but also weird bitter taste in my mouth for this game. Yeah.
We're going to take a quick break for a sponsor read, and when we get back, we're going to talk about if we want more from the world of Breath of the Wild. This episode is brought to you by a absolutely amazing and free way that you can support Kind of Funny. Very often, y'all ask, what's the best way to support Kind of Funny? Not with money, but with our love and our support. And right now, the best way you can do that is by supporting us on Spotify. We've been getting a lot of really good energy, good juice going with the support we've been getting on Spotify, and Spotify are starting to notice. So if y'all could do me a favor, even if you don't normally listen to us on Spotify, it would go such a long way if you can go to the pages for the Kind of Funny podcast, Kind of Funny Games Daily, Kind of Funny Gamescast, and Kind of Funny in Review, and follow them on Spotify. Go rate them as high as you want to rate them, as accurately as you want to. But if I'm being real, I'd really prefer if you just did as high as you're willing to go. It would go such a long way for us. We have video on Spotify now, and that's an amazing opportunity for Kind of Funny to get in front of an entire new audience. YouTube, been there, done that. We, are kind of where we're probably going to be forever. But on Spotify, the potential is limitless, and that is all up to you and your support. So thank you very much wherever you listen to us, wherever you watch us, wherever you put your hard-earned dollars. We really, really appreciate you. But we always want to be here for you, whether it's free or not. We love you. Thank you so much. So you're talking about how good this game looks and how similar to Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild it looks and all that. Yesterday, I got recommended a video. Every year or so, I'll get recommended some video of, like, allegedly people playing these Zelda games on hardware that is not a Nintendo Switch or a Switch 2.
And these people, allegedly, their names rhymed with Bandy Nortez.
Nobody would ever do that.
And, like, yesterday I saw this one from a couple of months ago, just seeing the advancements people have made with, like, a GeForce like 5090.
Oh my God.
And it has ray tracing. It has all this stuff. Like,
gross.
Disgusting. I hate this.
Somebody should do something.
Well, like, good Lord, Kevin, you could just skip through just a little bit just to show some of the different areas here.
Somebody link me.
Disgusting.
So I can send it
where can I find this so I can make sure to tell people how to avoid it?
But it's like, dang, dude. Like, the art style of this game is just so good. And when you just put more power behind it, it's like, oh my God.
I don't know how long we can show this before it starts becoming a problem for us.
I know. Jumping up forward just a bit more.
Oh.
Come on.
Jesus Christ.
You can see there's a lot of popping, right? Like, a lot of the flowers are, like, coming in when you get close to it. But
I mean, that happens just on the Switch as well.
Yeah. So
you can clearly see, like, a box around you of where things, like, HD populate, which I always find very funny in Zelda.
My God. But okay, that's enough of this, but just wanted to show people.
It's criminal.
It is absolutely criminal.
I condone and condemn any illegal actions done to corporations.
So I want to talk about, we've now had 2 spin-offs, 2 games, 2 Switch 2 editions in the world and characters of Breath of the Wild, of this iteration of Hyrule. In the history of Zelda, we've seen, I don't know, 10 different kind of Links and Zeldas and worlds, right? Do we want I don't even necessarily want to say the next Zelda game. Like, don't think about it that way. But just, do we want a sequel to Breath of the Wild? Do we want a Zelda game that is continuing to be in this world? Maybe not this Hyrule. Maybe they go to Termina. Maybe they go somewhere else, right? Do we want that or no? And the other question, spin-offs, right? We have these Hyrule Warriors games that are kind of either gameplay-wise or story-wise doing something with this world. Is there a different genre we might want to see, or a different type of spin-off, or whatever that is? Or should we be done? Bless?
As far as the next Zelda game being in this world, I don't want it to be in this one. One of the things that I love about Zelda is it being this reincarnation thing, the same story told over different generations and different art styles and different interpretations. And I think that's what puts the legend into Legend of Zelda, right? It's the idea of it being told in these different ways. Like, I don't think they ever explicitly do this in the games, but it gives me the vibe of this is a story that somebody is telling somebody, and right, and this is them recapping like what's going on in their adventure. And I think that is what makes these games feel unique and fresh, and makes moments in Tears of the Kingdom really shine out as, oh wow, this is an adventure that I'm going on. And this is kind of to Barrett's point about how they treat story and lore in Zelda, where they don't lean in ways that feel like they're delivering for fans. And I don't necessarily love that if you're going to keep following up on these same worlds. I think it's fine for what they do in the individual games, because it's like, all right, get in and get out, tell the story of this world.
If you're going to just do one game, just do one game. And like, don't explain anything more, don't overdo it. That's totally, if that's what you want to do, I see that. But then if you're going to commit over and over again to one particular iteration,
because then you have to answer questions. Like, then you have to start following up on things that you set up. And I think they did a great job from Breath of the Wild to Tears of the Kingdom of doing that. I just don't trust them to continue doing that in the same world in a ways that build into the lore in a greater way. I think they do a better job of going from ground up and going, hey, here's a new scenario that links in and what's going on with Zelda and what's going on with Ganon. It's Calamity now. Oh, now it's Ganon. I love how they do that shit. Yeah. So I'd say no.
Barrett?
Yeah, I'm kind of done with this iteration of Zelda. I realistically don't think they'll move on though.
Really?
Yeah, I have a feeling with the movie coming out and them wanting to do kind of like brand synergy with their IP across multiple mediums. Them really like honing in on like what Mario is today, what Donkey Kong is today. I could see them sticking with this, which I don't necessarily know if I want, I know that I don't want. I'm in terms of just not just story and lore, but also just like gameplay. Like I'm looking for it to them to do something completely different, and that's someone who really adored Tears of the Kingdom and how it followed up on Breath of the Wild. And this is coming from someone who likes Tears of the Kingdom more than Breath of the Wild. But after that, I do think of like, we don't need to do the deep kind of physics-based system for every game. Like let's do something else. Let's do something different. Let's keep it fresh for the series. I
think that sticks. Like I think that's, even if they switch to a different style of Zelda and redo everything, I still think we get the physics systems. I think the gameplay and the puzzles and all that stuff stays, even if like this Zelda world we start to shift away from it.
What about you, Tim?
I'm with Bless there gameplay wise, where I think the physics stuff should stay. But I also think I'm ready to move on from this iteration in Worlds. I wouldn't be mad if the next one is here, but I would be let down if it was in Hyrule again. I do think that there's no way that they could add another element on top of this, even if it was very updated, very different. I feel like it would be too similar having the two games back to back that I loved so much, but adding the depths, adding the Sky Islands, like they already did that. And I feel like if they were to add like a Dark World or something like that, that would be like the least interesting path to go down for me. I would like it to just be, like Bless is saying, a different legend, right? I would be very sad to lose the blue tunic. I like Link in the blue tunic, and that's very important to me.
He's green, okay?
I know, but I like that he was blue.
He's only blue just because, they all wore blue because they all represented Zelda, who represents wisdom. But my boy Link is green for courage.
That's where I jump back, because I do think the movie feeds into this conversation of what they're doing with it, because I don't think they go blue tunic for the movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't think they do it, because I think that's the problem. That's the problem with Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild, like continuing on with that, is that up until now, Zelda, part of the franchise, has been redefining and doing it over and over again. But there is an iconic look for Link, and that is the green tunic. And I think you got to get back to it, because I think the movie has to be the green tunic. I don't think you can do the blue tunic. If they do, that means the next game has to be the blue tunic.
And that tells me also the next game in this world.
Yeah,
I just had a funny thought in terms of like, would I want another game, not a mainline game, like another game in this world? The only way I'll accept that is that if we get a what is that? What was that RPG that, or not RPG, but like kind of management game that came out last year? Frostpunk 2?
Satisfactory.
Frostpunk 2 like game where you're building Hyrule back together, because like the whole thing with Breath of the Wild, right, was everything's kind of post-apocalyptic, towns are separated, and then Tears of the Kingdom, you slowly see the kingdom coming back together. I would love a Hyrule management game in this world, which I think would be hilarious.
Let me tell you about a game called Dark Cloud.
Any excuse to bring it up, and literally that is what it is.
It's literally like that's what you're describing. Dark Cloud, you literally go into dungeons and find the pieces of your village, and you're putting your village back together.
I'm not saying, like, I'm saying fully take out 3D action altogether. It is full on lean into it being a city sim.
Like for a spinoff, or for
for a spinoff.
Gotcha.
But for me, the most important thing is the visual identity. I think they've nailed the art style. Like, I think that this kind of Studio Ghibli looking world is so at home for Zelda. Like, when you look at when you look at the franchise, right, the 3D ones at least, you had the Ocarina look, which was an attempt at realistic. Obviously, it was N64. I think that was taken to the extremes with Twilight Princess, right? Like that, the realistic looking Hyrule and Link and Zelda, Ganondorf and all of that. And then Wind Waker, obviously, a complete 180 of that, right? Where it is full on cartoon. Skyward Sword was kind of trying to meet in the middle. And I think that was like the least successful visual style that they've had in one of the 3D games, because I don't look at that game as having its own unique identity. I think of it as being in the middle of Wind Waker and Twilight Princess, right? And I think that they took that meeting in the middle so far into an extreme, creating Breath of the Wild.
See, I was gonna ask if you felt that way before Breath of the Wild came out, because I feel like fresh off of Skyward Sword, the only thing I really love about that game is how it looks.
Yeah, I
feel like Breath of the Wild.
I remember from the first trailer of that game, I was like, oh man, this like
feels so generic.
It felt like they didn't know what they were trying to do with it. Like it felt like they weren't committing to the Twilight Princess fans or the Wind Waker fans. It was just kind of more, and that's my opinion. But people could disagree. That's like literally it's a subjective thing. But I do think that the Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom style is so beautiful and good, and allows them to be creative on the gameplay side, as opposed to needing to worry about the game being like realistic and all. And realistic might not even be the right word to use at this point. But
gritty.
I still want it to look different than Breath of the Wild. I think
we need to move on from this style entirely, right? The reason why Ocarina and Majora's Mask stick out to us so much is because they've only used it twice. And for almost every iteration, like that art style is used once outside of like some of the 2D games, right? Like even, Link Between Worlds has a very specific look to it. And I think when part of us looking back on our past favorite Zelda games and what made that moment in time so special is part of that look, and that feeds into that nostalgia factor. And I think if we just keep with this style and look in this engine, right, we're gonna get into like the Mario side of what you hated for the longest time of every fucking 2D Mario game looking the same.
Yeah,
and I'm super, super, super with you. But I'm talking about the difference between New Super Mario Brothers U and Mario Wonder. Like that's the type of they look very similar, but it is different. Minish Cap to Link to the Past, right? Where it's like very similar, but clearly different, like different looks and style, but the energy. I mean, even thinking about like bringing up Studio Ghibli, like those movies all quote unquote look the same, but no, they don't. You know, and actually, I like that there. It's like that type, the level of difference between Totoro and The Wind Rises or whatever. Like, give me that.
I sent this link in assets. I know everybody's seen. So many of us have seen this before, right? But this is the Wii U tech demo for what they had in mind for a Zelda, or at least how a Zelda could look on Wii U.
God damn! I wonder who's behind the camera of this.
Oh shit! I didn't even think about that. Holy cow!
God, you're old.
I know.
That's crazy. I still want this. I still want this for a Zelda art style. Like I hear you guys as far as where we're at right now with Zelda, and I think we all agree that like we kind of want some sort of shift, but I think a shift back toward I don't even know if I even call it realistic, but I guess more dramatic / less cell shaded Zelda, I think could be the move to kind of bring us back to what was in people's minds like
the dream.
The dream. Yeah.
But also just like the look and feel of what Zelda was.
Because I guess what I'm looking at this as is a return to Ocarina. Like Ocarina, to your points, right, is realistic for the N64, but that was 64-bit, right? That was such a long time ago in a different era for what you could do with technology and looks and all that stuff. I think this art style, though, like we've not gotten it quite like what we have in this tech demo, and I think technology-wise, we're at the place where this could be a reality.
Yeah.
And I think this would encapsulate the core of what Zelda is, how you depict Zelda in a movie. Like, if you want a return to form for Zelda, so that way we can have the swing back, so that 10 years later we can swing back to cell shaded if we wanted to. I think this would be the move.
For me, I want this for an Ocarina of Time remake. I think that this style, while yes, the dream for the longest time, I think that Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom have reinvented the series for the better, and I hope that we commit to that. And I hope hey, I'm not going to complain if the next Zelda looks like
what
this.
I will say is that if the next Zelda ends up being the Ocarina of Time remake, then I'm totally with you of like, oh yeah, let's step back for that and then go back to like a more cartoony or cel shade or whatever you want to call it, stylized look for the next.
Yeah, because that look, it's like that evoked such a specific time and place, I would say, for the series. And like, yeah, we can utilize that for a remake of Ocarina if that actually exists, but I wouldn't want that to be like almost like the statement of the future of the series, you know, because it feels like going backwards in a way.
Yeah, I just think I mean, it's one of those things where Zelda is so many things, right? But I do think that style is somewhat core to an era of Zelda, right? But I think the way to make this work would be to make it cyclical. I think it would be to, hey, let's return to what that is. So that way we can return to what this is. Unless you have something completely new. I just don't know what that completely new looks like.
And that's what I would want. I want the, I miss the days of the swings of, going from Majora's to Wind Waker and then to Twilight Princess. Like, I love, it felt very reactionary towards a reactionary audience in terms of, like, their feelings about certain art styles, but all of them have such a specific essence in terms of their visual identity, and I just don't want it to be complacent in terms of what Zelda means and feels like in the future.
Yeah. Let's talk about the movie. Kev, there's 2 links here that I'd like for you to bring up. One is Link and Zelda, the actors. We know who they are. They're these people. And on top of that, we know that they started
just don't know.
They're these kids.
That's them. These people.
And we also know that they started shooting this movie yesterday. And they will be shooting until April 2026 in New Zealand. Kevin, if you could bring up the next link. Yes, it's just a Google image search of New Zealand.
What?
Wait, scroll down a bit and obviously
I see.
Look
okay.
at this. Yeah,
a lot of different.
It's Zelda, right? Obviously a lot of the big fantasy movies and TV shows shoot over in New Zealand for good reason.
Well,
right?
Lord of the Rings was news. Okay,
yeah.
And New Zealand,
and a lot of Game of Thrones, like that type of stuff, because it just makes sense. So once again. You look at the world of Zelda, Hyrule, you look at specifically the Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom kind of vibes, right? Of like the opening shots of and then the box art on the mountain looking out at the vista. It's New Zealand. So far, they're nailing it.
Yeah, I think about it more, and I'm like, I don't know if I want it.
Yeah.
I guess in this form, I swing back and forth and back and forth and back and forth on it. I think it's the thing where I'm totally down with a new fantasy movie and a new fantasy universe, and the fact that it's based off of Zelda. Cool, you're speaking to my childhood. But then I think about realistically, what's it gonna be? It's Nintendo, it's Zelda, it's probably gonna be rated PG. Not that means anything bad towards it. You don't know?
Oh, well, I guess PG, probably PG.
Yeah.
But I think it'll push the PG.
Sure.
I also wouldn't be necessarily surprised if it hit PG-13, but
you think they're gonna use the one fuck?
I don't think they're going to use a fuck. You know what I mean? But I do think there's going to be some big-titted fairies.
Well, excuse me, fucking princess.
And I don't even want to say like PG is the problem necessarily. It's more so like at the end, what is this going to look like in the full scope?
And the biggest thing, and I understand people being hesitant about this, like a live-action Zelda movie. So many things about that are like, really? The director, Wes Ball, he knows ball. Not Pirates, the Planet of the Apes, the most recent one. That movie freaking rocked, and it had such a great visual style. And watching that movie, knowing he's directing Zelda, I was like, dang, I have so much faith in this movie.
Wow.
Well,
and great storytelling. Like, I think great kind of small, let's just tell a story that matters with characters that matter. And I feel like with Zelda, that's what they need. It's going to be tough, though, to adapt what we know of Zelda into a 2-hour movie.
I mean, you're talking about storytelling, and a good storyteller, the director's only part of that. One of the writers did the story of Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker.
You can't hold that against that. There was 10 writers on that thing. And
that's Disney.
That got so messed up. But
and then the other writers, definitely someone who Wes Ball has worked with before. They've really only done the Maze Runner movies.
Yeah.
So.
Which, again, like, those were young adults.
Yeah.
But great at world building and
I feel like this is gonna be young adult, right? Like
Oh, exactly.
Yeah, that's all gonna feed into that.
Yeah. But so here's the question. We lightly touched on this earlier, but is it adapting the Breath of the Wild story to any extent? Or what do you think is most likely? It's it doing its own thing that's kind of just cherry picking elements of all the other Zeldas and doing its thing, or adapting either Ocarina or Breath of the Wild? Because I don't think it's going to be any other one.
That's so tough, dude.
I think they go the Mario route, make it an isekai.
Oh,
He's from our world.
God.
I mean,
Oh no.
I don't want that.
I'm kidding.
But
I'm kidding.
I like they could do it.
I know they could.
With
They
the
really
powers that they
could.
have available in the Zelda universe, like they could. And like even with the way Ocarina, you know what? No, we're not gonna. We're not going down that route. We're not doing that. My gut tells me it's an original story where they cherry pick things from a bunch of different games, namely probably both Ocarina and Breath of the Wild. But I think if you're going to adapt one of the games directly, my heart says Ocarina. Like my heart says that is a Zelda story. That is like the most notable, iconic Zelda story that probably would work best in a movie when you think about the twists and turns of it. Like, okay, cool. You start in a village of the elves. I forgot. It's been a while since I played Ocarina. You start in a village of elves. You go explore. You fucking run into Ganon, Dwarf. Shit goes wrong. Time goes forward. I'm really condensing this, but like, I think with that, the twist of Sheik, you can make that into a really good movie.
I think the problem with Ocarina in terms of its story beats, I think would be tough to like really adapt into a movie or even like a two-parter movie. I think you'd need something a bit more straightforward for the medium. So like my brain leans towards Breath of the Wild. I think that's a bit more straightforward in terms of like, all right, this kid wakes up, he doesn't remember who he is, the world's messed up, he's got to save this princess, right? My heart wants Link to the Past because I think Link to the Past is a little bit more straightforward in terms, like a very similar thing with Ocarina. Like everybody says, like Ocarina is just kind of 3D Link to the Past, but in terms of its story beats, I think there's a bit more of like a linear through line that I think makes sense and doesn't get overindulgent with like a bunch of different characters going to a bunch of different regions and having that be the focus, especially if they do want to make this like a 2 or 3-parter. Like the cliffhanger, if they did Link to the Past, would go fucking hard.
Oh yeah.
Where it ends with Link thinking he is about to save Zelda and a Ganon.
I don't know how to say his name.
Aghanim, whatever. I always said Ganon, but
yeah.
Transports Zelda to the Dark World, and then Link kills Aghanim, whatever.
Agendas.
And then that takes him also to the Dark World. And I think that would be like such a banger cliffhanger for like a Zelda adaptation.
And I like where your head's at with that, because I think that it would be so cool to see the champions and all that stuff, because I loved that about Breath of the Wild, like the kind of Power Ranger feel of like the what are they called, the
Gorons?
The 4 things you have to fight.
What the fuck? The
Divine Beast?
Divine Beast.
Yeah, I was gonna say Forbidden Towers. I was like, that's not it.
Yeah, all that stuff, so cool, right? Like, I feel like that would make sense. But to what Barrett's point, the runtime, thinking about the medium, like I don't see that all working. So, and Ocarina of Time, I'm with you, Bless, that like I do think that is like quote unquote the right answer to like speak to people.
Yeah.
But I don't see them doing the time jump stuff. Like I think that this kid is going to be Link. Like I don't like think that there's going to be some twist of like, hey, actually half the movie is this other dude, you know? But that also, it would be cool if they did, but I don't see that happening. But I do think that knowing Wes Ball and knowing like his kind of ideologies with movies, like I do think that they're going to adapt the Link to the Past type elements of collecting items and going like doing a dungeon to get a thing that allows you to do something else. That I think is going to be shown in movie form, which I'm very interested in. Like I think it's going to be more of a like literal game adaptation than we tend to see sometimes. And
to bring in the Link to the Past comic that I adored as a child, that I forget where I got, but
Nintendo Power probably.
I it was like a hand me down from a babysitter or something, but and I still have it to this day. You know, they did a lot to kind of bring more characters to your Sahasralas and there's like another little kid in there. Like I think there's like a strong cast of supporting characters that don't dominate too much of making Link the special boy.
Yeah.
You know? So I think like there is something there as well. I gotta read that comic. It's so good. It's so good. It's
Barnell in the chat asked, what do we think the title of the movie will be? That's actually an excellent question.
It's funny because as we were talking about this, part of my brain is like, well, could you just adapt to the first little Legend of Zelda game? Because you're probably just going to call the movie The Legend of Zelda. And I say adapt loosely because that is really just the premise of any Legend of Zelda. Hey, you're a dude, you get a sword, go explore dungeons and save a princess.
Yeah.
I mean, that's, I think, the most obvious thing.
Yeah.
I hope that's not the case. I think that the movie having a subtitle will make it a lot stronger and goes back to this being a legend, this being a story, and this being different from the other ones we've had. Like, I think it'd be really cool if it had a subtitle that wasn't any of the titles that we've had so far. But it's probably called Legend of Zelda.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you.
I think
how cool that'd be.
Again, knowing Nintendo, what their course has been so far in like the movie and like adaptation in other medium space. Like, I think they're just keep it simple, stupid, you know, and especially with like the Mario movie, like they didn't even do a subtitle for the second one. Like they just, you know, smartly implemented like Super Mario Galaxy, and that's just like
I think there's only two.
I don't think they play around.
There's only two possible titles here. I think Legend of Zelda being the most like. I think you kind of have to call it the Legend of Zelda. If not, then maybe you call it the Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. I think if you find a new subtitle, it starts to feel like a spin-off. It starts to feel like almost like a direct-to-video, like, you know, like whenever they call
Kronk's New Groove.
Yeah, like what was the Donkey Kong movie called? Kingdom of the Crystal Skull or whatever.
Technically, not even a movie. It was
Legend of the Crystal Coconut.
You're mixing up Indiana Jones there, buddy.
Yeah.
Technically, not even a movie. Those were just like 3 episodes of the show just put together.
Yeah, but it was advertised to me like a movie.
Yeah, well, I mean, they sold it on VHS like it was a movie as well. I think, again, they want this to be a franchise. This will probably be a trilogy. I think you start with The Legend of Zelda, and then the other 2 are subtitles.
Yeah.
You just for devil's advocate here, because I think that you're right there. I think they'd put a subtitle, and I think Link's in it. Legend of Zelda, Link something or other, right? Because we've had so many of those, and I think that solves the spin-off problem a bit, like, because we've had, Link's Awakening, Link to the Past, like, we can get something there.
Because I do think, starting with just The Legend of Zelda, and if you make this a trilogy, right? Mm-hmm. In a trilogy, second chapter is always the dark chapter, always like the shit's going down. Subtitle is something to do with Ganon. And then the third one, you bring the boy Link's name into it as like the we're bringing back hope. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I have such the boring answer, right? But for me, if you're doing a trilogy, you're doing a multi-part series, it really is
Part
Legend
1,
of
Part
Zelda.
2.
No, like it's The Legend of Zelda, The Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past, The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time, and then if there's a fourth movie, The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild. Like I think you just title it the most popular games. I know that's boring.
Yeah. Yeah, I think like doing a new title, I think would be tough and weird.
I think it's more likely though than using one of the like. I don't think we're gonna get Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time unless it's adapting Ocarina of Time, and I don't think it's going to.
You don't? Okay. Yeah. See, my brain, you are.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay.
My brain, that's what you're doing with these movies.
We got some super chats. Dexter says, "I'd love to explore more time in this Hyrule as it continuously evolves, builds more lore, and has memorable characters, but not in a spin-off game." Bander Ascend says, "My worry is more fidelity means more budget. I'd rather something more stylized that doesn't cause the game to take forever and cost a Spider-Man to make." And then RSC Raptorface says, "Never forget the IGN April Fool's Zelda live action trailer. Still feel the anger about how stupid I was. I just wanted it so badly." Directed by Fran Mirabella, 2007 or 8.
Damn.
Yeah.
Feels like yesterday.
In that video that we pulled up of the Wii U Zelda thing that you were playing, what were you playing? Or like, what were you doing?
No, you're just
I was
the camera.
Just filming. I did play it though. It was just a camera. Like it's literally just playing. You could like move the camera and
no way.
It was showing off the Wii U gamepad.
Oh.
It was just a video that you're just kind of like interacting with essentially.
Gotcha.
But yeah, Kev, pause this. I do want to end the show watching the Legend of Zelda April Fool's video from IGN.
Can't believe it's finally real.
Haven't seen it. Any closing thoughts on this?
I mean, no matter what the future of Zelda is, I'm excited for it. Like, they could make another Breath of the Wild inclusion, and I'd kind of be like, oh, another one. But I'd also be like, well, they're making a third one of my favorite games of all time. Like, sure, let's do this. You know, I'm excited for wherever we go, even if it is a return to form. I don't expect them to do this, but if they abandoned all of like the physics stuff and we're making another traditional 3D traditional Ocarina, Twilight Princess, Wind Waker style. You're doing dungeons, and like we have like, you know, very catered, curated solutions and all that stuff. It's been a long time since one of those. I'd be down for one of those. Like, I want to see them. I think my biggest wish is to see them explore the now multiple branches of Zelda they created.
The thing is, they're never going to do that again.
Yeah.
The Zelda team is never going to do that. The Zelda team that made Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom are never going to do that again.
But can a spin-off?
Grezzo will.
Yeah.
Grezzo
that's what I want.
will.
That's what I want.
I mean, they already did make their own original game with Echoes of Wisdom, right? I do think, and they were the ones that did the remakes, I'll call them, of Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask on the 3DS. Like,
yeah, those are remakes.
And then Link's Awakening, obviously, as well. But I do see them getting to a point that they are making original 3D Zelda game, and I do think it will be. It's either going to be they're making the remake of Ocarina of Time, which I think is probably the most likely situation right now, or they are making a dungeon traditional 3D Zelda game that's brand new and
yeah. That's what I want. Yeah.
I don't know what I want for the future of Zelda. This is a franchise that I take what I get when it comes to me, and if I fuck with it, I fuck with it, and if I don't, I don't, and that's okay. And I think the further I've distanced or gotten away from Zelda in review and all that stuff, the more I'm like, man, I spent so much time invested in like the lore and all of it connected, and Nintendo just doesn't care anymore. And it's
anymore. They don't care anymore. As if they ever cared.
They definitely cared for a game, a game at least enough where they made it a plot point. And so I don't know. It's fun stuff. I honestly thinking more about like the movie being a like possibly Link to the Past has me more excited for a Zelda movie, but I'm still very apprehensive. Again, it should have been animated. It should have been Gendy Tartakovsky.
Yes.
Yeah. Directing that shit. And in terms of games, I hope we get something fresh. I think 2 games in the same style, engine, gameplay style, world is like the most I want from the series, with the most recent games and then Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. And then after that, I really want them to mix it up. And I hope they take a bit of a break, although I know it's a lot of time between Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. But yeah, I want to miss Zelda, and right now I don't.
All right, everybody, let's close the show out with Fran Mirabella's Zelda live action April Fool's trailer.
IGN.com presents. I don't know what that was.
I've got something special lined up today. I'm taking the harvest to Castletown Market. And you're coming with me. Now mind your manners and do what I say. Speak to no one. And for goodness sake, don't touch anything.
This is seared into my mind.
Amazing.
I've been waiting for you, Link. You've been kept safe, guarded by a secret race. For this very day, the kingdom of Hyrule will fall. Nothing can stop the evil which has crept inside.
I love the
these walls.
2008 Doctor Who
I am too late.
BBC quality energy of this.
Time. When these doors open again, it will be 7 years in the past. Find me again.
This is so well made.
It's hilarious.
2000, whatever this was.
8, man, yeah.
Like, for real, y'all could have been producing BBC shows at the time.
This would have came straight to the CW.
So hype, man.
I welcome the hero of time.
Damn.
There's another show. Merlin. Is that a show? I forget.
Sick.
Yeah, heavy Merlin vibes.
No joke. This kind of sold me on the live action Zelda.
That's awesome.
I can kind of see it.
Awesome, Bless.
It was the monster. It was the creatures. I'm like, fuck, dude. That would look cool in live action.
Someone in the chat says, was that old guy, young Nick?
Oh my God, that's
funny.
Oh, y'all are killing me. That is the greatest thing ever. Man, yeah, that video was so ahead of its time. It tricked people. It tricked the world. I know we look at it now.
I feel like it really truly started the internet trend of like doing shit on April Fools.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, video game magazines and stuff had a tradition of it, but it died off. And then, yeah, IGN did that, and it was crazy stuff. But,
nuts.
Oh, man, everybody, let us know in the comments below what you think about that and what you think about Fran Mirabella's hair and those arms. He's been working on them arms a lot. We're about to do a great thing. What are we doing? It's a stream.
Interview.
Yeah, we're doing an interview, Predator Badlands.
AVPPP.
Very exciting stuff. But until next time, I love you all. Goodbye.